Live from the 607, it is the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour, where we're talking sports locally and nationally. Why don't you join in the conversation with the hashtag ODPH? Here we go. And welcome back to another edition of the ODPH. I am your host, Ken M. Sitting across from me this week is the one, the only, Padawan J.
Hello, hello, hello.
Folks, we have a lot to discuss, so let's waste no more time. Hashtag ODPH. The biggest news of the week has to be the kickoff of the NFL season is officially in the books.
Holy moly, what a crazy week it was.
Absolutely. Now, we got to break down our locks and leaps. If you've been listening to our show, you know that we take one surefire lock and one kind of long shot leap to see how the teams play out. And going by our picks, I am happy to say my lock covered. The Los Angeles Rams went to Oakland and defeated the Raiders on opening night, Monday Night Football. Albeit, though, it was a little shaky. If you watch the game, John Gruden's first game back to Oakland after many years, Khalil Mack had been traded very shortly to Chicago. So the Raiders, we weren't sure what we were going to get out of. The Rams were kind of an upstart team last year, but their defense is very, very feared. So going into this game, there was a lot of questions, I guess, we had. The Raiders came out and were moving the ball up and down the field very easily.
I'll say run with Marshawn Lynch, throw to Jared Cook.
Yeah, Jared
Cook.
Cook.
Rinse, repeat.
Exactly. That's all they really needed to do. Jared Cook was killing the defense.
I might have mistakenly left him on my bench on fantasy. Whoops.
Well, it happened to the best of us. But he was, moving the chains for him, and Marshawn was looking like shades of beast mode. And especially when he scored his touchdown and moved, I want to say the entire team and maybe some fans that jumped on the field and push. He was just mowing everybody down.
It's like somebody promised him a truckload full of Skittles at that moment, and he's like, I got to get it now.
And then he got motivated and was dominating. So they were going very back and forth, so nothing to take away from the Los Angeles Rams. But once the second half hit, the Rams really kind of seemed to lock it in. And they looked almost like a brand new team. Todd Gurley got the ball running. He was really pushing it down their throats. And you saw that Jared Goff and everybody else was really kind of getting in sync. Whereas you look at the other side of the ball, Derek Carr started throwing a couple interceptions. And the offense was really slowing down for Oakland. And it was really kind of surprising to see because at halftime, it was 13-10 Oakland. And the final score was 33-13 Rams. So there's 23 points unanswered scored. Anytime you do that, it's going to be a long day.
Yep.
So for the Rams, they did look like they were back in midseason form.
Yeah.
Or dare I say, late season form last year. And their defense was playing definitely locked down defense. So going into next week, there's going to be a lot of questions that Gruden's going to have to fix with his offense, especially with Derek Carr having a bad performance in that second half. Because if he's having an off night, everybody's going to have an off night for Oakland. And they have a lot of talent on the team, and especially Gruden being the offensive mind that he is, to be shut out in that second half. I mean, it was really surprising to see.
Yeah.
But you got to give your hat off to Wade Phillips, the defensive coordinator of the Rams. He definitely drew up a scheme that just shut everybody down.
Yeah.
In that second half.
Made the right adjustments after halftime with what Oakland was running there. But, absolutely lights out. Yeah,
so going forward with that, the Rams are going to Arizona this week. They're going to be welcoming the Cardinals to L.A. this week.
Yeah, boy.
So we'll have to see what happens there. And going for my leap, I was drinking the Coach Duffy Kool-Aid, and I took the Giants at home over the Jaguars. The Jags defense stepped up, albeit Leonard Fournette came up injured that game, and T.J. Yeldon just picked up where he left off.
Right.
Running all over the place there. And they were looking very, very good in the first half there. And the Giants, they got the ball rolling late, but albeit though Miles Jacks had an interception for a touchdown return. So anytime that Eli's having a bad day, it's going to be tough. The Giants did look very good though. Saquon Barkley definitely got the ball running for them, especially late though. I know he broke out for a 68-yard touchdown.
Yeah.
So if you're a Giants fan, you had to like what you saw out of Barkley, but Eli, not the best performance. But then again, the Jaguars have a great defense. Albeit, though, they didn't really shut down Odell Beckham, 11 receptions for 111 yards.
Yeah, it was covered by some guy who'd been doing a lot of talking.
Yeah, Ramsey was doing a lot of talking, but if you're letting Odell burn you for $111, you really can't be talking that much.
Mm-hmm.
But it's going to be interesting to see what happens next week. I know Dallas is going to be playing the Giants on Sunday Night Football, and the Jaguars are going to be facing New England.
Uh-huh.
But, Pad, let's get to your picks.
Oh, boy. Well, looking at my picks, I took the New Orleans Saints as my lock, which on paper, you look at it, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you don't really know what you're going to get. Jameis Winston is suspended. Ryan Fitzpatrick is starting. Like I said last week, nowhere did I ever think Ryan Fitzpatrick would go off for 21 of 28, 417 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Holy moly, he was like playing Madden on easy mode.
I didn't see this one coming, and I saw him play many years in Buffalo. I am speechless about this one.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and I also made the mistake of leaving Deshaun Jackson on the bench on my one fantasy team because I didn't see them doing anything that week. I didn't see 417 yards coming out of friggin' Fitzpatrick.
But that's how you never know. I mean, you can look at your fantasy rosters and go, I have the perfect one. Everything's going to line up great. Mm-hmm. And then somebody on your bench just explodes.
Yeah, that was me in 2007 when I had Drew Brees as a starter and I believe it was Derek Anderson as my backup. I couldn't make a right pick no matter what week it was.
Yeah.
Whoever I sat, they were doing better than my starter. Such is fantasy.
Yeah, exactly.
But so you had that absolute barn burner. And then for my leap, I took the Atlanta Falcons to beat the Philadelphia Eagles, which looked like it might have happened for a little bit. And it was looking kind of like it had there at the end. It was close, but... what was the stat I saw from SportsCenter that Matt Ryan to Julio Jones in the end zone is like 0 for 10 or 11 or something like that?
1 for 20, something like that. It's an absurd number considering the talent on that team.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I can't figure it out.
No.
That you have arguably the best wide receiver in the league. You can definitely
make that
argument.
Conversation.
Yeah, he's in the conversation. But you can't get him the ball in the end zone?
Right.
It's mind-boggling to me, and I know that they've had some changes in offensive coordinator. And
all. Sure.
But how you don't get him the ball?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like, I'm stunned at it, and it was almost like a flashback to the playoff game last year.
Right.
And I mean, I don't exactly know how you fix that, because I mean, you could try switching up some offensive schemes, sure, but if you don't get Julio Jones going in the end zone, all the yards he's running are not going to get the job done. I mean, I know there was some interesting play calls in the first half that I wouldn't say came back to haunt him, but it was just kind of really puzzling. I know going on 4th down and you only had, I don't even think you had a wide receiver on the field.
No.
When you went for 4th and you were in the red zone. And they got stopped because everybody knew they were going to be running the ball.
Right.
It's like, why don't you keep somebody out as a distraction? I mean, granted, I'm playing armchair quarterback here.
Right.
But still. And, I mean, take your hat off to Philly. I mean, they did not have a Super Bowl hangover as I thought they would.
Right.
Out the gate. I mean, we still have to see how they're going to be playing moving forward, but they looked like they just picked up where they left off.
I'll say, and the bonkers thing to me was the play call right there at the end of the game where it was the goal line fade. You got a guy like Julio Jones, 6'3", 220 pounds. Guy can jump.
Mm-hmm.
Guy got ups. Why don't you just run something like for him going across the middle or back of the end zone, throw it up there, let him go get it.
Yeah.
You just jump and catch. Be like a center in the NBA.
I mean, it's puzzling. I mean, like I said, when we were doing our preview show, I thought Atlanta would be able to figure this out.
Right.
Granted, it's one game, so I'm not jumping off the ship just yet.
Mm-hmm.
But if this is how the season is going to progress, and I need to see something out of them to change my mind.
Right.
But if this is how the season's going to progress, it is going to be a long year in Atlanta.
Right. And I'm not too disconcerted yet based off of this performance. It's one game. Like you said, it's one game. It's one play at the end of the game that's the difference between winning and losing. If they make that catch in the end zone, they likely win.
Mm-hmm.
But I think going forward, if they have a repeat performance this coming Sunday where they do well to open the game and then you just get to the second half and it's just like the car runs out of gas and they just coast to the end, that's where I start my getting concerned.
Well, that's what we're going to have to keep a real eye on, too, because this is just a lot of questions are coming up that we shouldn't be saying, especially with the talent they have. It's like they have offensive weapons.
Yeah.
How are you not making this happen, especially with Julio Jones? And he had a monster receiving day. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But when you need to put points on the board, especially late, if you're becoming predictable that you can't get your star receiver the ball, there's going to be a lot of questions that are going to get raised.
Yes.
Going into the rest of the league, there was definitely a lot of highlights that we didn't talk about on Locks and Leaps, but the biggest one of the week had to be Sunday Night Football and Aaron Rodgers.
Holy moly.
I will tell you this. I am not a Bears hater. I'm not a Packer fan. I'm impartial to those guys.
Right.
The Bears came out like a house of fire, and Khalil Mack, you would have thought, was playing for a contract, not that he just received one of the biggest ones in history.
Oh, so yeah, you'd think he's playing for like chump change, nickels on the dollar, and he's really playing to prove himself and earn a contract.
Yes, he was playing at such a high elite level. He took that first half over.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
He was doing everything in his power to win that game by himself.
I mean, you saw the memes as the game was going on when Rodgers went down with his injury, that somebody took the photo of him in the pop-up tent and it was like, oh, is Khalil Mack still on the field? No, I ain't coming out of here.
Exactly. He was such a dominant force in that first half, and especially with Rodgers getting hurt, and we didn't know the extent at the time. The way it looked, I thought he tore his ACL.
See, I was texting my brother, while the game was going on, because he was off and he was watching the game. It reminded me very much of the way Brady went down in 2008. Now, not the same, way he went down, but just where he was and where he got hit. It looked very much like Brady, just closer to the ground. I told my brother, I go, he's done. I go, his ACL's blown. It looked. Now, granted, like I said, closer to the ground, Brady was standing up. It looked almost identical to Brady's. I'm like, he's done.
Yeah, I thought he was done too, and I immediately
they cart him off the field. He's not moving. I think the collective breath out of that entire stadium got sucked out.
Oh, without question, because when you lose Aaron Rodgers, I mean, it's no disrespect to Deshaun Kaiser, but he is not Aaron Rodgers.
Right, he's not Aaron Rodgers, and you got a guy like Khalil Mack who's balling out of his mind, and he sees Rodgers go down, and you bring in Deshaun Kaiser, he's smelling blood, and he's coming fast.
Yeah, and they really were putting the hurting on the Packers in the first half.
We'll say all-out blitz, ready, go.
And I thought the game was done. I'll be honest. I thought it was over until Rodgers comes out.
So you pulled a Paul Pierce.
Paul Pierce, Willis Reed. I don't know where he found the healing power to come back out, but he came out. Granted, he couldn't put a lot of weight on that leg.
Yeah, they showed it during the game. They showed, I think it was late in the third quarter, maybe early in the fourth quarter. Chris Collinsworth was showing a play from the first half where it was your stereotypical Rodgers in the way he throws, and that it was in slow motion. And then they showed to the right of it a pass from after he got hurt. And you could definitely tell that he was not putting any weight on that back foot if he could.
No, he was definitely throwing off the back of his foot, which to see him do that at such an elite level and skill, impressed is I don't think is doing enough justice.
Right.
I was blown away. I'm going, how the heck is he doing this? Let alone they did 20 unanswered.
Yeah.
To win that game.
Well, and you could tell the injury was definitely affecting him. He had the one call in the second half where it was intentional grounding, and they brought it up during the game that, like, okay, Aaron Rodgers normally without one bad leg, it's shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. I'm out of the pocket. I can intentionally ground this thing. In this case, it was shuffle, ow, shuffle, ah.
Yeah, but he was leading that team single-handedly back to victory. Like, you could kind of see the momentum and just the whole demeanor of both teams switch the minute he got back on that field.
See the demeanor switch, but I think the Bears mentally were still in it, and we're like, okay, we can still win this game. We still got it. Rodgers is on one bad leg. I think the nail in the coffin was that, what was it, 68, 71-yard touchdown pass to Randall Cobb?
Yeah, that was.
I was watching the game, and I'm like, that's it. Done. Game over.
And one thing we got to remember, too, the Bears are a young team on offense. So to ask Trubisky to come into Lambeau Field.
Opening night
of the 100th year anniversary of the Packers.
When they were showing the Packers greats in the stands.
And to fight Aaron Rodgers, who is pulling off one of the greatest sports performances you will ever see in your lifetime. That's a lot to ask of a second-year quarterback. Now, he was doing everything he could.
Oh, yeah, with the weapons he had.
Yes. So it's not like he was just kind of turtling up and waving the white flag and surrender. He was doing everything he could, but it was just not his night. You could definitely tell. It's nothing to say that he's not going to be pulling these wins out later on in his career. But for that night, I don't care who you had on the other side of the field. You could have had Brady. I'll even say this right now. You could have Brady.
Yeah.
You were not being Rodgers that night.
I mean, you see this a lot of times. I remember there was one game a couple years ago where New England was playing Baltimore on, I believe it was Sunday Night Football, and I forget who the receiver is now. He's not in the league anymore, but he just had a brother die like a day or two before, and he burned our secondary for like a 65-yard touchdown or something absurd like that on like the second play of the game. And I'm like, yeah, we're not winning this game. This guy's got extra motivation. Like, there's just something else going on here that is far outside of their control. They're not winning this game.
No, it's just one thing when a player gets into that zone for whatever reason they do. You just know the night is not going to end.
I'll say Favre right after his dad died.
Yeah, on that Monday Night Football game against the Raiders. There's just something when players get on a field and you know that they're coming, back from, whatever the case is it a tragedy or it's adversity, whatever the case is. If we focus in just looking at Rodgers' game, Rodgers was so hell-bent in high water, I'm going to win this game, that he just literally took that game over by himself.
Yeah, and the funny thing is I actually knew somebody who went to bed because I had to work the next morning before the game was over. They sent me a text the next morning in all capitals going, what in the actual happened?
And simple. It just all you say is Aaron Rodgers.
That's what I said.
And this is why he is getting the contract he is. If there was ever any doubt of a man that was worth that much money for his team, you just look at this game.
Well, so yeah.
I got up out of my chair and I was giving a standing ovation in my apartment for this.
My jaw was slacked. I couldn't believe it because I've had Rodgers on my fantasy team once or twice. And like you, I'm not a Packers supporter. I'm not a Packers hater. I respect the hell out of Aaron Rodgers because he does things with the ball you can't even imagine.
How can you not? How can you not respect the man and just go and just be in awe? Like anytime he's on the field, you just know that there is at least a 50-50 chance you're going to win no matter what. Right,
and there are certain quarterbacks that you look at and you go, okay, if we're past this certain yard line, they got a shot to win it. Rodgers, it's like, okay, we're in the 5-yard line, the opposite end of the field. Yeah, we got a shot.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that you were just watching a moment in history, and then to see him after the game, he just looked just mentally drained, and it was just like everything was left on the field, and he was already like, "You gotta be ready for Minnesota next week." Yeah, I'm playing. Like just
he could be missing an arm and he'd still play.
I tell you what, he's going to be having a real tough competition next week with that.
Yeah, they're going to be gunning for him hard.
So to give some quick hits for week 1 to take you out of the segment, Cleveland looked good.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh did not. Le'Veon Bell has been taken off the depth chart.
Still hasn't shown.
And Big Ben is a little banged up from week 1. The Browns looked like they're heading in the right direction. And, I mean, that game was just a wild one to watch. But if anything Cleveland can take away is they can take away that they can beat any team in the league.
See, I think I have the wildest story for that game because I got out of work and I went to get a workout in, and I was paying attention to the game on ESPN Gamecast on my phone because it wasn't on in our area. And I was just and the game just ended. It was a tie game, with the touchdown late, the interception, the whole this, that, and the other, right there at the end. The game just ended. And I was like, wait, what happened?
Yeah.
How did this end?
It was just one of the wildest games to watch just because everything just seemed like it was going in Cleveland's favor. And then even when it didn't, they didn't break. They didn't give that losing demeanor.
No.
Like you can definitely tell the culture has changed there.
Yeah.
So for them, their stock is on the rise. The Steelers, I don't know, man.
I'd be a little concerned.
I'd be a little worried because, I mean, the replacement for Le'Veon Bell, James Conner, had a great game.
Yeah, looked good.
Nothing to take away from him, but with Le'Veon causing that distraction, and plus he's getting on Twitter and doing that nonsense, and that's becoming a distraction. If Big Ben is now 100%, this week
and it was the Le'Veon thing was definitely a distraction on the field, I feel, because you had the one touchdown his replacement did, and he ran up to all of the linemen that kind of publicly called out Le'Veon online. Yep. And they had a celebration with them. I think if I'm Pittsburgh and I'm Mike Tomlin, that nonsense needs to stop.
You need to can that immediately, without question. Buffalo, we don't have anything good to say about.
Except I'm getting my shot.
Yes, Josh Allen is going to be the starting quarterback for week 2, which they have to do.
Oh, yeah.
Their offensive line is not getting the job done, and Peterman is definitely not helping the case.
No. What was it, 5 interceptions? Something like that?
It was something like that. Honestly, I just saw the offense just could not get anything going, and they could not stop anybody either.
Yeah.
I mean, stop anybody from getting in the backfield and taking down the quarterback. It's going to be a long season. I know that, and I'm willing to accept it, but Josh Allen, let's see if he can cause that spark. They got a tough game with, almost at San Diego, L.A. coming into Buffalo this weekend, so we'll have to watch and see. Sam Darnold had a good rookie game.
Except for the first pass.
Except for the first pass, but he showed some composure, and honestly, he got that Jets offense going in Detroit. Detroit's got a lot of questions to ask.
It's kind of. I think the general consensus online is Matt Patricia's really got to figure out what to do now that he doesn't have a quarterback like Tom Brady to lean on.
Going to be a lot of questions to get answered in Detroit. But let us know what you think of Week 1 NFL action. We want to know. Hashtag ODPH. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hey, this is Rob Kacharik from the band 607, Autopilot Off, and Walking Distance, and you're listening to ODPH.
Coming back for segment number 2 on this week's ODPH, and there was a UFC card this week that we touched a little bit upon last episode, UFC 228. Now, this one kind of flew under the radars, and dare I say, the undercard had a lot of action. If you have the chance, search out Jeff Neal's TKO knockout of Frank Camacho.
Ow.
That thing was absolutely brutal.
Ow.
Absolutely brutal. Aljamain Sterling had a good submission, too. You should definitely check that out. And dare I say, too, Zabit had one of the wildest submission holds I think I've ever seen in a fight.
Yeah, craziest I've seen in a while.
Yeah, definitely. The leg lock, which you have to see because I forget exactly the record for it, but I believe that one has not been seen since like the early days of the UFC.
Probably. It's not one you see often.
No, so you definitely have to go check that out. And then getting to the main card action, even though that was on the main card, Jessica Andrade had one of the most wildest knockouts I've seen thrown in a long time in the strawweight division. She just came in there and just was. She almost looked like Vanderlei Silva. Just her style, she was going and just swinging and just knocking out.
I'll give you that.
I mean, she had an impressive knockout to say the least. So that is definitely highlight worthy. If she's going to be the next one to fight Rose Namajunas, I'd be okay with that.
Yeah,
I would definitely be all right with that.
Sign me up.
But I would not mind seeing her fight Joanna Jędrzejczyk.
Ooh, I give me a coin. I'm okay with either one.
Either one would work, but Andrade just looked completely impressive in her fight. So you got to say there's going to be some shakeups in the women's strawweight division after that one. But getting to the main event. Now, obviously, the co-main event was canceled. Valerina Shevchenko did not get her title fight. They did strip Nico Montero of the women's flyweight title due to there was kind of some conflicting rumors. I
never saw anything definitive. All I saw was that she had gotten rushed to the hospital. I believe it was the day of weigh-ins, and it wasn't the televised weigh-ins; it's the official morning weigh-ins. She got taken to the hospital, so the fight was kind of in question. Then she got pulled, and then they found an opponent for the fight that night. And then they said that the belt had been stripped. Yeah,
which Shevchenko is going to get her title shot. I believe they're going to try doing it by the end of the year.
Yeah, it's going to be her, but it's going to be a matter of, is she healthy? Is she on medical suspension? When's she okay to fight next? It's a couple of things.
Yeah, but Shevchenko will be there for it. So, I mean, and it's good for her because I know that she's been trying to get this title shot for a while and just things have been happening. I mean, it hasn't been as bad as trying to book Ferguson and Khabib. But it's been pretty bad for her, but she's going to get her title shot by the end of the year, so I'm excited to see that. And then going into the main event,
whoa boy,
Tyrone Woodley versus Darren Till. This was, just really kind of surprising for me to see just how Woodley just was standing in there and just trading shots. He didn't really rely so much on his wrestling, but he really looked like he was on another level than Till.
I think it just goes back to, like I said last week, you think back to everything that has been said about that division and about him, whether he's responded to it or not. I think he definitely wanted to come out, make a statement. This division's still mine, and until you beat me, it is mine. And this was his moment to do it, and he seized it and did it.
Absolutely. He looked phenomenal in this fight. I mean, Till looks like he should be at 185.
Yeah.
And I think the weight cut was getting to him a little bit, but it just looked like Willie, as soon as he got the takedown on him and just had him on the ground and was just dropping those elbows, I thought the fight was going to be done in the first.
Yeah.
Without question.
Those bows were vicious.
Yeah, which it was just completely, just absolutely wild just to see how he was just manhandling Till. Till is no slouch.
No.
But Till, I think, is just more based on his striking and definitely his ground game I would say needs some work, but he's got a long way to go. I mean, to come back at 185, I think he can definitely learn it, and he's still going to be a force. I'm not writing him off.
No,
the sunset by any
and
means.
like you said, Till is no slouch, but I don't think he expected the fury that was Tyron Woodley and what he came out with for that fight.
Right. And Woodley just was impressive. He got the submission in the second round. And now the question becomes, what's next?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Logically, for me, it's Colby Covington.
Yep.
It's not a matter of when, or it's not a matter of if rather, it's a matter of when.
Mm-hmm.
That fight needs to happen.
Oh, yeah, you would think.
Yeah, and I know that they were really trying to push, or Colby was trying to push for UFC at the MSG, UFC 230, I believe. I don't know if that fight's going to happen then.
Yeah, maybe. You never know.
I know that there's a lot of rumors going around about what's going to be the headline of that fight.
I'll say I think everyone short of you and I are rumored for the headline of that fight.
Possibly. I mean, the latest hot rumor I heard was John Jones, Alexander Gustafsson, too.
Well, that might happen, but there's a few things that need to happen first.
Right, which, like I said, I'm not banking on seeing that anytime soon.
No.
I would love to see Woodley versus Covington then.
Oh, yeah.
Without question. For me, that is the fight that needs to happen. I know that there has been talk about a Woodley GSP fight. I don't see. For me, I don't.
GSP to me, his mentality is he's half retired. He just does it to kind of fill his time and still hang around and do stuff. But like, if he was really into it and is committed to doing it as he claims to be, there wouldn't be kind of this wishy-washy, I don't know what I'm going to do, I'm going to figure it out. Like if it was, okay, I'm injured, I need to get healed. Okay, fine. Take your time. You've earned it. But we genuinely don't know what the deal is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, GSP has always just been a big question mark, since he's come back.
Right.
I mean, he fought at 185, he beat Bisbing, and then he went away again.
Mm-hmm.
So it almost depends on, what's the big fight for him. I wouldn't mind seeing him and Woodley, but in my heart of hearts, I feel that Covington versus Woodley is the fight we need.
Yeah, I'd set that one up first just because, they've been trying to do it. It hasn't happened. It's kind of a resolution. Okay, well, we need to get this out of the way. And then if Woodley wins, then you can explore GSP. If it happens, great. If it doesn't, okay.
Yeah, you need to go through there. I mean, this is a situation where you can have a definitive interim versus your current champion. And obviously, if you ask which fighter is which, they're going to say, I'm the real champion, the other one's the interim.
Yeah.
One. I mean, this isn't like the situation going on in the women's flyweight where, Nico Montano, which I apologize if I screwed that up earlier, was stripped of the title. That, now you have it vacant, then people are trying to say, okay, who's the real champion of this division? Mm-hmm. No, this one you have Woodley and you have Covington, and they need to fight. This is like a no-brainer for me.
Right, in the rules of championships, if somebody has a championship and somebody has an interim, they're fighting whoever wins as the actual champion.
Yeah, it's just put him in the cage and let him go. I mean, this fight should have happened. I don't necessarily know if Till should have got the shot per se. Nothing against him.
Well, didn't they try to give Colby the shot, but then he needed nasal surgery or something to that effect?
But it was something he said. He goes, I just need to push back a month.
Okay.
So it was a matter of, okay, do we want to get him going? Do we not? And I guess this also settles another debate, too, because there's been a lot of criticism about Tyron Woodley being a boring fighter.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, in this fight, he was not boring.
No.
He definitely, made some haters really, really be quiet. And I think performances like this can only help him.
Mm-hmm.
He's a very talented fighter.
Yeah.
I just think a lot of times, he played it safe with Wonder Boy when they were fighting Thompson.
Yep.
But that will come back to haunt you. But you got to be remembered, as your last fight. You can't be remembered about stuff you did, fights ago. Mm-hmm. If you're showing improvement and he really showed that he wanted to win, and he definitely looked like a different fighter, that you almost say, okay, he's an entertaining fighter. We can have him headline a card. We can definitely do something. And with him and Covington, that makes the most sense.
Yeah.
If he tries doing, I don't know if there was going to be a drop to 155 because there was rumors that there was going to be something going on there. I just don't see that one happening. I think if anything, he would go up to 185. But why would he want to leave the division he's dominating right now?
Right.
I think that might be something for down the road. But
yeah, eventually, but not right now.
Yeah, because right now we're going to just go into nothing but Conor versus Habib talk.
Oh, boy.
Until October 6th. So, and then after that is going to be the big mystery card of what happens at UFC 230.
Yep.
Because it's, as far as I've read, Poirier and Diaz are not fighting.
Aw.
Which I'm trying to get confirmation if the fight is off or on. Still.
I'll say those two fighting in New York, that crowd will be really crazy.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I mean, I understand their argument too.
Right.
But it's tough to say that, who's right or who's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
UFC does their business like they do their business. You can't argue them. And they're
It's
the ones
worked to this point.
No, but they're going to make them headline a card in MSG. You can't really be mad about that.
No.
But I can understand if they want to be on the same card as Conor and Khabib, because that's going to be the biggest fight card of the year.
Oh, easily.
So to see where they go from there. But getting back to Woodley, though, I mean, the door's open kind of who he wants to fight next. I know that there was some talk that maybe he'd have another rematch with Wonder Boy. I don't see that. I don't see that one happening, though. I really don't. I think, though, him and Covington is the fight you need to make, unless he wants to move up weight. But I just don't see that one happening right now. Especially, there's just so much influx at 185 that I don't know necessarily it'd be the right move for that division right now.
No,
definitely not. The other tidbit of news I heard is Jose Aldo is trying to get a fight at 155, switching gears a little bit.
Interesting.
And I heard that there was talk of him fighting Donald Cowboy Cerrone.
Oh my Lord!
But the deal did not go through.
Aw.
Now I'm trying to get kind of an idea of, okay, why wouldn't it go through? Because that's a definite name at 155. But let me ask you, Pat, who do you think would be a worthy challenger for Aldo at 155 out of the gate?
I think you just said it. Cowboy.
Cowboy could be.
Cowboy would take him in a heartbeat.
Cowboy would definitely be up there. I wouldn't struggle with it. I'd honestly like to see him fight Tony Ferguson.
Oh, that's if they can make the fight happen.
Well, Ferguson, I know he has a fight against Anthony Showtime Pettis coming up, but if that fight wasn't going to happen for whatever reason, I wouldn't mind seeing Aldo fight him.
Right.
I think Aldo moving up is the right move, too. I think he's going to be a pretty big force at 155, and it'll be interesting to see where he goes. I mean, there's just going to be a lot of weight class, moving up and down.
Yeah.
It's going to be really interesting. I mean, UFC 228 was definitely an entertaining card. If you can definitely check out the highlights of that, I recommend it. And then to see where Woodley goes next, I am hoping, fingers crossed, it is against Colby Covington.
That's just the fight that makes the most sense. Just settle the whole thing once and for all.
Definitely. But let us know what you think. Hashtag ODPH. What's your thoughts on UFC 228? We want to know. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
It's a heartbreak, soul-shaped radio time. Taking 4 steps forward, no steps back.
Hey, this is Vince the Common Man Ciatoy, local MMA fighter, telling you to keep on listening to the ODPH, the 607's up-and-coming newest podcast.
We knew right where we'd be, floating on the airwaves, you see. It's a heartbreak, soul-shaped radio time. Taking 4 steps forward and no steps back. We knew right where we'd be.
Come back for segment number 3 on this week's ODPH. And it is boxing time yet again.
Yeah, there is a little fight coming up this weekend. Minor.
It is, but it has big ramifications if you are a boxing fan, like myself, because I know I talk a lot about the UFC and MMA on here because I think it's really surpassed boxing at this point.
Yeah.
It's just my opinion. But there are certain fighters and certain fights, when they happen and stars align, they are big events. If you've heard the show over the year, you know that the first time Triple G was fighting Canelo for the middleweight championship, I had this date circled on my calendar. I was talking about it. I was so amped up.
Did you? I can't seem to remember that.
You can look at our archives where we find the ODPH episodes to get confirmation of this. This was a bigger boxing bout for me than Mayweather-McGregor, which we don't even need to discuss. I wouldn't get into this. So obviously, if you followed our Twitter that day, I had this scored Triple G all the way. Triple G had Canelo pinned up against the ropes for the good majority of the middle rounds. I didn't think that he did enough to win, but the judges, they had a different story, and they declared it a draw.
That's why you never leave it to the judges' decisions.
No, and obviously there's been some drama after that.
A little bit.
I mean, they tried booking the rematch for May, and Canelo had a suspension for a failed PED test. That was blamed on tainted meat, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, something he ate down in Mexico was tainted, according to him. Whether it's true or not, we don't know. That's what he was saying.
I don't know, but, the fight is now happening this week.
Mm-hmm.
Pad, are you excited about this fight?
I'm interested to see it because I know I watched the last one, and while I am nowhere near a boxing aficionado such as yourself, I definitely kind of sided with you on the decision. I don't think they got it right. I think it'll be interesting to see how it goes this time around and whether there can be a definitive finish with the finish of the first fight in the back of their mind, both Canelo and Triple G. Okay, we fought the first time and we went the distance and it got left a decision and it either went in my way or it didn't go in my way. I don't want to leave that risk this time.
I don't think they can afford to. I think this is going to go a lot of different ways, but let me just sell you on another point of this that you might not know. Triple G is going to if he wins, is going to set a record for 21 consecutive middleweight defenses.
Ooh.
He's going to break Bernard Hopkins' record.
Ooh.
He's currently tied with him because he did take a fight in between the last Canelo fight, and he he absolutely destroyed the guy. I can't remember the guy's name, but he ran through him. So they're currently tied at 20 consecutive defenses. Canelo is 49-1-2, 34 knockouts.
Yep.
Triple G, 38-0, one draw, 34 knockouts. For this is a legacy fight for both fighters. Canelo needs to come out and he needs to show everybody why he is arguably the best middleweight boxer on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
He has the power. He can definitely do it. He has to figure out how to beat Triple G, though.
Yeah.
Triple G did pretty much all he could do in that first fight. What does he have to do differently? Well, I think he needs to come out of the gate a little more fast. I think he needs to really set the tempo early.
Mm-hmm.
If he can really get in Canelo's face and really press him against the ropes like he was having success, and I want to say the 6th, 7th, 8th rounds.
Yeah.
If he does that again, he should win this fight. But this is one we have to have a knockout.
Yeah.
We have to have a definitive win, either way. Because if this goes to another draw,
people will be angrier than they were the first time.
This will go completely crazy on social media if you follow anybody who's a boxing fan. I will probably be going crazy on our Twitter that night.
Well, see, I remember looking at clips of SportsCenter that night, and I believe it was Teddy Atlas going bonkers on SportsCenter after the fight. I'm like, okay, justifiably so.
Well, it was because it is nothing against Canelo, but he did lose that fight.
Right.
He was up against the ropes, and Triple G was just imposing his will. You hear this mentioned a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have a fighter up, and you could say that Canelo was being very defensive, and he was. He wasn't really taking a ton of damage per se, but he was up against the ropes. Triple G was laying some shots in. He was definitely making combinations work. He was imposing his will.
Yeah.
All right, so if you're going to go and look at it from a judge's eyes, Triple G won this. This wasn't even a debate.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that there was a tie, I will never understand. But for this fight, it's either going to come down to two things. One, Triple G is going to knock out Canelo.
Mm-hmm.
Two, Canelo is going to knock out Triple G. I don't think this goes to the judges. If it goes to the judges, I will make the bold statement right now.
Okay.
Canelo wins. I will just, don't ask me how, don't ask me why. I just feel that if this goes to the judges and Triple G can't close this out, he's going to lose this fight. I think we're not going to have another draw by any means. I think that's the one thing you can honestly bank on. I see this fight going Triple G's way. This is no longer going to be a sports competition. This is a straight-up grudge match.
Oh, yeah.
If you listen to any of their current interviews this week, and I know there's going to be a lot of hype coming out of Las Vegas. Both fighters are in town now. The hype is beginning. I know that I want to say ESPN was going to be interviewing both fighters, I think, on First Take.
Okay.
At some point. Well, it would make sense. Max Kellerman's their biggest boxer.
Right,
guy.
and I do believe I saw a thing the other day when I was watching First Take. They are going to be in Vegas, so yeah, I would imagine they're interviewing both guys.
And you can definitely tell that the fight has changed. This is not going to be a competition. This is going to be a grudge match. This is going to be a no respect. We need to close this out so there's no doubt in anybody's mind.
Yeah, the conversation definitely seems different from last time, whereas last time it was this is boxing's biggest match. This is the fight that will make or break boxing. It'll bring in new fans or it won't. No, this is the fight that you're looking at and you're hearing everything they said. This isn't about boxing. This is just about two guys who want to knock each other's lights out.
And the good thing about this too is these guys are in their prime.
Yes.
We're not talking Pacquiao Mayweather,
which was like a dozen years past.
Exactly. We're not talking about, if you even want to spin it to MMA, Liddell and Ortiz 3.
Right.
And that nonsense.
Yeah.
You're talking about guys that are in their primes, they can still knock people out. Granted, Triple G's up there. I think he's a little older.
Yeah, I believe so.
But he can still, if you take a look at his last fight, if you have any questions about what he can do, Triple G can still get the job done. Canelo has got a big chip on his shoulder because of everybody questioning him about the failed PED test.
Mm-hmm.
So you know he's going to want to make a statement out there.
He's going to want like a first-round home run knockout punch.
Yeah, he's going to come out and definitely put an exclamation point on this. So let me ask you this, Pad. With all that information, who you taking?
Triple G. Just because I think he's going to come out firing. He's going to want to put a definitive bow on this. He's going to want to move past this. He's going to want to get on with his career. He's not going to want to linger about and have reporters asking him at every venture, oh, what about Canelo? What about Canelo? And the whole thing. So I think it's going to be Triple G.
Canelo is going to come out swinging, and he's definitely going to try and impose his will early. And I think that would be a smart tactic for him to do. But I think that Triple G is looking at legacy. Triple G is looking at, I need to make sure that there is, without question, any doubt that I am the best middleweight fighter ever. He is going to want to come in there, and he is going to impose his will. I think Canelo is going to throw him off early, but I think once we get to the 5th, 6th rounds again, Triple G is going to get him against the ropes again, and he's going to just knock him out in the 9th.
Mm-hmm.
I'll even stretch it as far as the 10th. If this goes to decision, though, this has been Triple G's best shot.
Yep.
I don't think he wins if this goes to decision. I think it's going to be Canelo, and then we're probably going to be talking a trilogy, unfortunately, because I think that we need to have a definitive winner of this one.
Yes.
But I'm going to say that Triple G is going to get the TKO stoppage in the 9th. I think that he is looking at legacy. I think he's going to really be amped up for this one, and I think there's no bigger fight in his career than this one right now. Because if he wins this, he breaks Bernard Hopkins' record.
Which that's a name, even if you're not a big boxing guy, you know the name.
Mm-hmm. And after that, I mean, honestly, if he was like, I'm done and I have nothing left to do, he can ride off into the sunset. Not that there's been any talk of it, but you almost want to wonder, okay, well, what's after this?
Right.
Really, for him. There's no reason to tarnish the legacy if you've beaten your biggest challenge and there's nothing left. But it's gonna be so fun to watch that now all the nonsense is done. As long as everybody makes weight.
Yep.
We get to Saturday. If you're not a boxing fan, I would recommend watching it. If you're a hardcore boxing fan, you have this date circled, and the only thing you're saying is this needs to have a definitive winner. We've given you all the reasons why this is going to happen. I just think Triple G is just going to come in there with a better game plan, and I think Canelo is going to be fighting with too much emotion, and I think Triple G just knows what's at stake, and you got to take the guy that's going to be cool, calm, and collective than the one that's just fighting with all heart.
Yep. Even
though those make for the best fights. Let us know what you think. Hashtag ODPH. Who you got this weekend, Canelo or Triple G? We want to know. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hey, this is the King of Lisle, Luke Visengard, Gladius 205 champion, and you're listening to the ODPH.
Coming back for the local minute on this week's ODPH. And Pat, do you mind if I take this one?
Absolutely.
All right, so there was two of our favorite teams in town have got some stuff going on. The Binghamton Bulldogs have redone their website, and they unveiled their new uniforms, and they look absolutely awesome. I am super, super excited to see what the Bulldogs have coming this season. They've revamped their website, binghamtonbulldogs.com, and, honestly, we talk about how hockey is creeping up. Bulldog season exhibition starts October 13th. They're at Davis College now.
Oh, okay.
That's going to be their new home, and the regular season is going to be October 27th against the Rock City Ravens, 7:05 start time. But definitely go check out BinghamtonBulldogs.com. Shout out to the boys down there. We're hoping we get Jimmy Evans back on the show to do an interview before the season gets kicking off. But I tell you what, we're going to be down there supporting those dogs, and you should too if you get the chance to go, because the Bulldog games are so much fun. Absolutely. And speaking of hockey, the Binghamton Devils have announced that they're going to be doing a streaming service with AHL TV.
Okay.
So details, I'm still trying to get as much as I can on it, but it was $79.99 for an entire regular season pass for all the teams, and I want to say it was $59.99 for a single team season pass.
Okay.
But this information is on BinghamtonDevils.com, And it's going to be a really cool thing, especially for out-of-town games if you really want to support your team, no matter where you are with the AHL. But for us with the Binghamton Devils, if your team is going out of town, we can watch it via the phones, via your laptops, whatever, Roku TV, Apple TV, Amazon Fire, Google Chromecast, and Android TV. I mean, they're definitely going all out for this, so you cannot say you missed a game for any certain reason.
Yep.
But for more information on that, binghamtondevils.com, and their season is going to be starting October 6th. October is a big month for sports here in the 607.
There is a lot going on in October.
Absolutely. So, Pat, what you got for rounding those bases?
Well, I think Sound Guy Galore JR would be a little remiss if we didn't mention this. A little bit of New York Mets news, including some Major League history was set this week by their starting pitcher, Jacob deGrom. Jacob deGrom, of course, the phenomenal pitcher they've had for a number of years up there in Queens. He set a Major League record with 26 consecutive starts where he didn't allow, where he allowed 3 runs or fewer, breaking a record set by a Chicago Cubs pitcher in 1910. And he also lowered his ERA from 1.71 to 1.68. Boy, I tell you what, with the season he's having, which is flying vastly under the radar because you look at how the Mets are playing this year, definitely a Cy Young candidate.
He should win the Cy Young hands down due to what he's doing with that team.
Yep.
The Mets are not a good baseball team.
No, if you look at his record, his record for this year is 8-9, which, okay, of course, like we said, Mets not having the best year. But there, you look at the 1.71 ERA, which is just astounding.
The fact that he's doing that with no run support, pretty much, I mean, is astounding. And I think that it definitely needs to be in consideration. If not, I mean, for me, he's the hands-down winner.
Yeah,
we're not even having a discussion about anybody else.
Because that's just crazy. You think about it. As much as offense is talked about in baseball these days with home runs and hitting and all this, you look at a pitcher who's gone 26 starts in a row where they've allowed 3 runs or fewer. That's just consistency. That's a guy, you hear about Ron Guidry back with the Yankees back in the day where he was, if they were on a losing streak, they got to Guidry, losing streak's over. You look at the same kind of conversation with deGrom.
DeGrom is doing everything he can to win games. And I mean, it's an off year for the Mets.
Yeah.
That's all you can really say. I mean, every team goes through this. But for him to do the numbers he's doing, especially with the lack of run support he gets, astounding. I mean, I don't even know how you put it into words.
No.
Other than give him the Cy Young.
Yeah.
End of story.
Yeah.
So before we close out this week's episode, we got to do our locks and leaps for week 2 of the NFL. Now, we were posting our results on our Facebook page, so make sure you're following us on all social media. Now, since the other guys are not here this week, Pat and I are just going to break down ours, and I'll kick us off here. So for my lock this week, I am taking Tom Brady and the New England Patriots against Jacksonville.
My man.
I tell you what, I think that Brady and company, they had a great game against Houston.
Yeah.
And, I mean, Houston looked phenomenal. I know it's Deshaun Watson's first game back since his injuries last year. But I like them against Jacksonville. And I think especially if you have Jalen Ramsey giving them bulletin board material, that's the one organization I don't think you want to do that to.
No, because you can go back through the history, especially within the last 15 years or so, and see what has happened to teams that have given them bulletin board material.
Yes, and Belichick and Brady are still there in New England. They were looking phenomenal, and honestly, I think Jacksonville is going to give them a good game, but I do like the Patriots in that one, without question. And for my leap, I am taking those said Houston Texans.
Ooh.
Yes,
okay.
They are underdogs, actually, to Tennessee.
Wow.
Which I was kind of surprised to see. So I am going to go with Houston on this one. I think Deshaun Watson and company are going to go and put on a show against Tennessee. Tennessee just does not look like the same team of the past years.
No.
Mariota looks off center there. And obviously, one of the most horrific injuries was Delaney Walker.
Delaney Walker
and his ankle. Oh, my God.
I cringed.
Yeah, you can't. Your heart just has to go out to him because that is just – the still photos were painful. I can't even imagine how that was looking in real time.
No.
And I don't want to.
No.
But I definitely want to take Houston in that. And let's see what we got. Pad, what you got?
Well, looking at the you mentioned it earlier in the show, the LA Rams against the Arizona Cardinals. Of course, as we're recording, the line is currently the LA Rams favored by 13. I'm taking them to cover that spread and then some. Just like we said before, and we've said for at least 2 weeks now, the Rams are just scary. They're just all sorts of scary, and no disrespect to the Cardinals, but I just think that they're not ready for what's coming their way, and that just monster defense coming their way. It's gonna give them all sorts of headaches. Then looking at my leap, kind of looking through things. There's a couple teams I could take. There's a couple games jumping out at me, but I think the one I'm going to take more than anything is looking at the Sunday game, Kansas City Chiefs against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh currently favored by 4. I'm going to take a leap and say Kansas City's going to win that, move to 2-0, and move the Steelers to 0-1-1.
I tell you what, Kansas City was no joke on Sunday.
No.
Patrick Mahomes looked like the quarterback that everybody was hoping he would be.
Mm-hmm.
And to get that offense rolling, Steelers, I tell you what, the Browns hung in there. I can't reiterate this enough. It was not the same old Browns.
No.
If you're a Cleveland fan, you have to look at it like...
It's disappointing, yes, but you have to look at it optimistically, because I think if it were the old Browns, they would have rolled over and played dead in the second quarter.
Yeah.
And it would have been a blowout, and Pittsburgh would have had their third stringers in. But as close as it was, and what they had happen at the end with the interception and the touchdown and back and forth, that was not the old Browns.
No, it definitely wasn't. And if you're a Cleveland fan, you just have to see all the hope that is going to come in. Just wait till you get Baker Mayfield on the field.
Oh, yeah.
Because I tell you what, Tyrod did a great job with what he had.
Yeah.
He did try forcing a couple passes, though.
Yeah.
And I know it caught him late with that late interception, but you know what? The Browns weren't the same old Browns. So you got to be excited about week 2. That's all we got for this week. So for Padawan J,
thank you.
I'm your host, Ken. Thank you, as always, for listening to the ODPH. We'll see you next time.